Welcome to Broken Kayfabe, the unofficial after show of Breaking Kayfabe with Baldrin and Barry. Ariel Agbalog, super awesome co-host. What's up?
Nothing much. It's a cold California morning. I mean, cold as in, let's see how cold it is right now, actually. It's a very cold 56 degrees.
Oh, wow.
56 degrees.
Poor you.
Yeah, poor me. It is nice and sunny outside, not a cloud in the sky, no snow on the ground either. It's just 56 degrees right now.
Just horrible.
Very horrible. I know. How about you over there? How's Florida?
Man, it's awesome. We're in the 70s today. It's gorgeous.
Right.
75 degrees. And looking like this weekend, going to drop down to about 66 on Saturday, 73 on Sunday. But we got a nice weekend coming up. Looking forward to it.
Wonderful. Yep. We're going to hit similar. The high today is going to be 70. The weekend, it's going to look in the low 70s. So it'll be a nice, cool winter's weekend or something over California winter weekend.
Well, I am excited not only about the nice weather that we have coming up here in Florida, but I am also excited for a couple things for this week's podcast. Number one, we're going to talk about restaurants that used to be around when we were kids that we used to go to. Number two, we're going to talk about Jammie Ward. We've got the exclusive interview with popular co-host. He's made multiple appearances on the Stick to Wrestling podcast, where everyone is a popular co-host. And number three, we have a very special, exciting announcement.
Yes, absolutely. Can't wait for that one. I can't wait for everything. Actually, let's get this show on the road. I'm excited. I'm a little pepped up, even though I'm tired, but I'm very excited for everything right now. The interview, the podcast itself, and the special announcement at the end.
Great. Well, let's jump right on into it. Okay. First of all, how old are you? 41?
41. Just turned 41 on Halloween.
Very good. That's 41 is a great age to be.
No, it's not. Is it?
It's not?
It's reminding me that I'm getting older, that I'm already past that 40 hump, I'm officially in the 40s.
Well, there are things that you can control in life. There are things that you cannot control in life. I'm going to tell you that you cannot control your age. You will always get older.
That is true. And if I was dyslexic, I'd be 14. Right?
That's
how it works?
Tell me, do you think you had more fun at 14 than you have now?
Yes.
Well,
I'm saying yes because I didn't have any bills to pay, no adulting things to worry about, no job. I just had my Sega Genesis, my Super Nintendo, and homework to deal with.
Man, you were a nerd. Well, I was pretty awkward in my teenage years, so I had a much better life at 41 than I had at 14.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's true. So anyway, thinking back to when you were young, were there some restaurants that you went to that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
so you grew up in San Jose, right?
Yeah, I grew up in San Jose. I was born in Delano, California, where Central Valley by Bakersfield. And I moved up to San Jose when I was around like 5 or 6 years old. And okay. I've been living here ever since.
Tell us, when you would go out to eat with your family, what's some of the places you would go to?
One of the places that's actually, I'm surprised it's still around, is Sizzler. Sizzler, I have a very, I know it's not I know it's still known for the most part, but I've had this weird, the thing I remember about Sizzler is it landed me in the hospital for the first time in my life when I was about 8 years old. And it's not because of the food or anything. It's because for some reason, I ended up catching a bronchial infection after eating there, like almost like the day after. We were eating at Sizzler, and I kind of wasn't feeling good. And then a day later, I just got worse, and then I got went to go see a doctor, and they had to admit me to the hospital. And at first, I thought it was Sizzler, but it was totally something else with my respiratory issues because I have asthma and everything. And but for the longest time, I always connect Sizzler with my hospital stay, and I know deep down it's not the cause, but I'm always like wary of like Sizzler when I see it. So that's one of the restaurants I've used to frequent as a child. There was another one. Well, of course, Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut was so cool back in the day. They had like really awesome like like kid stuff. When the Ninja Turtles movie came out, they had these cool Ninja Turtles. I remember I had the cassette tape of the Ninja Turtles that they created an album. They went on tour and they did this promotion with Pizza Hut, and I think it was called Coming Out of Our Shells.
Wow.
And yeah, I remember I remember that. Let's see, there's some other places too. Pho. Actually, we went to eat pho like 30 years ago, I think. It was around 30 years ago. I remember I used to go every Monday night with my parents, with my family. And this was around the time Monday Night Raw started, or a little bit before it came out. But once Raw started like getting really good, or was the thing to watch on Monday nights, we totally stopped going to eat pho. And that restaurant was actually called, it's still around, but it's called Pho Kim Long. Yeah, there's I guess a euphemism there.
Yeah, I was waiting for the joke.
Well, I mean, I can't really. We're not the Breaking Kayfabe podcast where they just dish out dirty joke after dirty joke. I have a little class. No, I'm kidding. I'm rambling on. I have a lot of energy right now. I'm actually really excited. But yeah, how about you? I mean, there's probably more I have to think about it, but yeah, I want to keep talking.
So did you know there's still a Sizzler near you?
Yeah, it's actually the same Sizzler that I got sick at. Yeah, it's still down the street. They
is that on
renovated
Aborn Square Road?
Yeah, you stalker. What is? Yeah, it is Aborn Square Road.
Oh yeah, I see your house. No, I just Googled Sizzler because I think no, we had Western Sizzling is what we had.
Oh really?
Yeah, Western Sizzling. But when I look at locations, it shows them Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Utah, New Mexico, Phoenix, and California. None of these coasts, but thing. I see. Yeah, but I was certain I'd had one before, but it may have been something else like Papa Sizzler or something that was a ripoff.
Yeah, it was like a steakhouse that was popular for their all-you-eat salad bar. And the problem with that was more people went for the salad bar than getting the steak, so they lost a lot of money. And then they tried to get rid of the free salad bar and all that stuff. So I don't know. It's gone bankrupt like at least twice that I know of, but it's still around. It's that little engine that could. And their steaks suck.
Okay. So their gimmick kind of screwed them over. You know, that happened with Red Lobster. Red Lobster did all you can eat crab legs, and they did boom in business. But then when they stopped all you can eat crab legs, business just tanked. People only went there for the all you can eat crab legs. So if
you look at the map, there's a Red Lobster across the street from Sizzler.
Oh yeah,
there's a Red Lobster across the street from Sizzler. Yeah.
Well, I was craving Red Lobster's cheddar biscuits.
Love those.
The other day, and we just happened to be up by Red Lobster. Well, I was only craving it because I saw the sign for Red Lobster. Let's be honest. And so I said, "Hey, let's go check it out." To Jana. Now we live on the beach, So there's a ton of fresh seafood places, right?
Right.
But I was just thinking about those biscuits. And so we walk in, look at the menu, and the menu was like $20, $30 a plate. I mean, there was some 15 too, but for that, we can eat fine dining. So with like fresh caught food. So I said, nah, we're not doing this. I mean, what was I thinking? And that's why I was in the car ride home. I was thinking, man, I almost just went to a Red Lobster when I live at the freaking beach. That could have been one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my entire life.
That reminds me of when I went to Nebraska for my friend's wedding. Nebraska, they're known for their corn and their beef. I guess Omaha steaks and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And my best friend, my friend that was getting married, her sister-in-law or future sister-in-law in that time frame suggested we go eat at Joe's Crab Shack, a seafood place in the middle of the United States where there is no ocean, no beach, no viable gigantic body of water to get fresh seafood at. But she wanted to eat Joe's Crab Shack. And my friend, I remember, she pulled me aside. She's like, what the fuck is she thinking? Like, why does she not want to go to a steakhouse or something that has to do with, more of what that area is known for? And I'm like, yeah, doesn't she live in Hawaii? Why does she want? Why does she want like seafood in the middle of Nebraska when we all know it's going to be frozen? And
right, yeah.
I don't know. We just had, so we went to Joe's Crab Shack. I was like, okay, well, whatever. I mean, I guess I haven't, my friend was disappointed. They had tiny little corn that I still tease her about it. I'm like, Nebraska has like tiny ass corn. She says, she was like, no, that's some shit corn from Joe's Crab Shack. That's not like Nebraska corn. I'm like, well, that's what I had in Nebraska and it's shit. So, but that reminds me of like, that story. So, yeah, they sell the Cheddar Bay biscuit mix at the stores, right? Or do you not have that over there?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen that.
Oh, really? Oh, I should buy you like a couple of boxes.
Yeah, I'll have a look next time I go to Winn-Dixie.
Yeah, take a look. Hopefully they have it over there. I'm sure they have it. If not, maybe go to like a Walmart or something, or another chain. But they do have those pre-mixed. I'm sorry, not pre-mixed, but in a box. So you can always do that.
Yeah, well, I think I'll do that. I think I'll have do that, and then I can have the queen use her culinary skills to fix me some Cheddar Bay biscuits, and then I won't get roped into almost having crappy Red Lobster when I live at the beach.
Right, exactly. See, another money saving tip from Ariel. Like last
You're
week.
You're just full of them, huh?
I'm just full of them. So like frugal also.
All right, so some of the places I ate at as a kid. So this place is still there. The first place is called Snappy Lunch. It's up on Main Street. My mother goes in there every Saturday morning and gets breakfast. And I think it was started about 38. And the guy that he worked there, then he ended up buying the business. And, that's a story that you don't hear very often, and you may never hear again, right? Someone that works for the business saves up enough money to be able to buy the business. And his name was Charles Dow, and he just passed away a few years ago. And his wife and kids, I think, still run it. But so they're known for their pork chop sandwiches, and they're also known for being on the Andy Griffith show. Andy Griffith would mention going to Snappy Lunch. So Andy Griffith is from my hometown, and he named several places that are legit places in my town. Yeah. And named people like cousins and whatever of his as if they were characters on the show. And that was pretty cool. But Snappy Lunch has this pork chop sandwich, and the pork chop is like beaten and flattened out, and it's huge. So if you look at the picture of a pork chop sandwich, I'll see if I can find one. I know I've taken some before. It looks enormous, and it's delicious, and that's what people get. But also, I mean, their breakfast is good, and then the cheeseburgers, and they still serve bread burgers. You know what bread burgers are?
I have no idea. No, I have no idea.
So
What's a bread
bread
burger?
burgers? So it's like a meat burger with bread mixed in, and they used to do that like during the Depression because meat was so expensive, and so to make it last more or longer or whatever, they would mix in bread in it, and it's called bread burgers.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And so they still serve those there. And my mom likes a bread burger. It's interesting when you got someone that likes something that's intended to be, poor people food or whatever, right?
Yeah, those are the best though. Sometimes, I mean, it has a lot of the foods that have a lot of history behind it. Just makes it taste a lot more interesting. Or I don't know what I'm talking about.
What device are you on right now?
I am on my microphone on my computer with my stuff.
On a computer. Oh, okay. So do you? I shared the screen with you. Do you see?
Let's see. There. Oh, yeah, that looks good right now. Is that coleslaw?
Yeah. Yep. So tomato, coleslaw, and chili, and it looks like mustard there on the bottom, but it's huge and delicious. And so the guy that owned it would go and stand in front of the window and would cook. He'd cook up all the pork chops, like the morning, or as they needed more, would cook up more. So it really wasn't cooked to order, but it was cooked. But then he would leave it sitting on the grill, warm, and then we got the order, they'd put it on it.
Oh.
And people would stand on the other side of the window and look in and watch him cook and look at the food.
Wow, that looks really good.
Yeah, and he did that for years. I don't know that he's passed, if they still do that, but I always remember that there. And if you look there, there's a man that's sort of dressed up like a cop, so he's supposed to be kind of like a Barney, right?
Yeah. He's enjoying that sandwich.
And you see that car there? You can take rides in those cars.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So it's not.
Oh, look, there's a guy cooking the window.
Oh, there you go. See, that's that type of thing sells the product,
Oh,
like
yeah. It was really cool, and it's something people get when you go in the morning and eat. Well, by about 11 o'clock, there'll be a line out the front door. The front door is right there behind the cop, all the way up to the next block.
Wow.
Yeah, and they'll wait there in the cold. It's pretty crazy.
See, I love how you the people like that live in the Midwest and the South and in those areas have these small mom and pop places that have unique foods, because I've never seen this before. We don't have this in California. A lot of it is like franchises and very little mom and pop places. I'm not saying that they don't exist. It's just that I, predominantly went to the franchise places, and as you can tell from what the two places I talked about, Pizza Hut and Sizzler, we did have some, like, I went to Foster's Freeze. That's still a franchise, but Foster's Freeze was another one that I went to. But we don't have these places here. We don't have very unique foods like that. We have our own unique cuisine, but it's more vegetable and fruit oriented, and with seasonal ingredients and all that stuff. California cuisine, if you've ever heard of it or whatnot. I am so envious of of you right now, getting to enjoy that when you were younger. I would have definitely loved that. I probably would have gained a lot of weight, a lot more weight, if I lived by that place. Oh my gosh, it looks so good with the coleslaw and the chili and everything. Wow, why are you Why are you pulling up Pornhub right now? What's going on? No, I'm just kidding. What is this? Oh, it's a menu. Oh, Speedy Chef menu. Okay.
All right, so Speedy Chef is another place. This is owned by a guy that my mom went to school with, and we've been going there. So take a look at those prices.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that still? Oh wait, that was from. Is that still?
Yep.
Like today's prices, or
Yep.
like a recent picture?
Yep. Yep.
No way.
Yep. So, and that's probably about a mile and a half from my mom's house. And when we go there, we always have to get Speedy Chef one day, and it's I get the chef burger and French fries and a hot dog.
Wow, that's so cheap. The chef burger's only like $3. I can't really read it.
So it's a big burger and it's delicious, and I love it, and here's what it looks like on the outside, and it's been pretty much the same. The same guy has ran it, and his son is like a year or two younger than me.
Oh, okay.
And we buddied around a little bit in high school, and I think he lives out in Nash Vegas. And they got the ice cream.
Banana, yeah,
banana split.
Banana split Sundays.
They have the cone dips.
Mm.
Where you take like a vanilla, dip it down into the chocolate hardening.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have those.
They also have cake?
Yep, so it's like a brownie sundae.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
I wish their brothers shippers could see this, but wow, that's good. Oh my gosh. Is that a foot long chili or coney or something? Wow.
For long hot dog. You can see it's the slaw, the chili on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing. If you're ever around Marion, North Carolina, those are two places that you got to hit up. I mean, it's not fine dining. It
doesn't have to be. It's great.
Yeah, it is really good stuff. And but yeah, that's two places that we get and would have got. So that's some talk of places we used to eat. This week on Breaking Kayfabe with Balger and Barry, they talked about some defunct restaurants, and so these are some that we ate at as kids. Some still around, some still not. And now let's go ahead and go to our interview with Philadelphia's own favorite mailman, Jammie Ward. So, Jammie, thank you for being with me here at 8:30 on a Wednesday evening, the old hump day. What's going on in the world of the USPS?
Well, first of all, it's about time we were finally able to get this done. What were we, like 0 for 5?
Yeah, part of that was my fault. I'll take the blame. I was a little, my life has changed since being married.
That
being
has an effect on everyone.
I've got, a wife and kids. And so since I haven't been like actively working in the real estate, I don't use my calendar the way that I normally would. And so I did not put, and I learned being in real estate, I have to use the calendar. Did not put it in the calendar, therefore I forgot the first time.
Nah, that's all right, because it all worked out, because it's been a hectic USPS season right now. Our office in particular is very, very short-handed. We got guys working 60, 70 hours a week at my office right now.
Wow.
And we're small time. I mean, we only have 18 routes in our office. And most of the rest of the area, all their offices are anywhere from 25 to 100. So we're on the smaller end. There are offices smaller than us, but we're just basically a little hometown office.
Okay, so how many carriers would that be, or how many different trucks?
Our office has 20 trucks with about 25 carriers when we're fully loaded. But we're severely shorthanded right now because we have 2 guys out hurt, 1 guy out on maternity leave. His wife had a baby. Another guy, I'm trying to think what happened to him. Oh, he's supervising in another office right now. And every time they hire new part-time help, they last about a week and quit.
Oh my goodness. So our mail carriers, it is less than that. I think we probably have 7 or 8.
Okay,
So,
you're in a real small office.
well, so yeah, so it comes out of Madeira Beach, and it's really neat to see because they all have the same, the mail trucks. I don't.
Yes, fortunately, they all have the right-hand drive trucks, right? They're like box trucks
Yes, they
for
are.
the
Yep.
most part. Yeah, we have those. They're from like 1989.
Oh no, these are left. They drive on the left.
Oh, they do drive on the left. Okay, they must be the newer model then.
No. I'm sorry. I'm confused. So we normally drive left. So they are right. They are
Okay,
right.
right.
Yes.
Yeah, they're real old trucks. With the one on right-hand drive, they did update those trucks around 2000. There's a thinner style, but fortunately for me, our office about 3 or 4 years ago, we got Dodge ProMasters. We got 5 of them. So fortunately, I'm number 2 in seniority, so I have a Dodge ProMaster complete with air conditioning and everything, where those other trucks didn't have air conditioning.
Yeah, these cannot have air conditioning because the windows and doors are open all the time.
Right. They just got that little dashboard fan that just blows heat right back at you.
Yes.
It's like driving a microwave oven. It gets. One time I was in one of those and I brought a old school thermometer with me and it was over 100 outside and it was 127 inside the truck.
Wow.
Yeah, it gets hot. It does, but you just do what you got to do and keep on going.
So you're second in seniority. So how many years do you have in?
37.
We have is it a Grumman? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, Grumman.
Grumman?
Yeah, they're Grumman vehicles.
Yeah, that's what ours look like. I just Googled Bell trucks.
Yeah, they're probably the Grumman vehicles. As a matter of fact, in 1989, I was down in spring break in Daytona, and as my buddy and I were driving down there, we got to Florida, and coming up from Florida the other way was a complete tractor trailer full of those trucks that was headed north somewhere.
Wow. So I'm sorry, my ADD kicked in. How many years you say you have in?
37.
Goodness gracious.
When I started, excuse me, when I started, we had the little Jeeps that were like left over from the Army.
So, not a funny story. Well, funny to me. My uncle, so my grandpa owned a junkyard, and my his male sons tend to be prone to junking. One of my uncles had one of those and drove it, and it was the right side is where the steering wheel was, and
Yes.
it was hilarious. We loved to see him coming in his old mail Jeep, mail carrier Jeep.
Yeah, did he have one that was painted blue and white or the all white?
All white.
All white. Okay, yeah, that's what it was when I got there. Shortly before I got there, for years they had the actually blue and red. The hoods were red and the rest of the body was blue.
Wow.
Those things, but yeah, I drove them for a couple years, and then we finally got those new ones in '89, and we still have them in my office.
So were you eligible to retire after 20 years?
No, I am, without looking at my app on my phone, I'm not eligible for another 11 months and 20 days.
Is it based on age, not tenure?
It's a combination. The earliest I can get out is at age 56 and 4 months. Right now, I just turned 55 a couple of months ago. So I have to wait till January 23rd, 2023 before I can consider leaving.
So I'm not asking you to break kayfabe on salary. I'm not asking you to break kayfabe on the retirement. But so before I got into real estate, one of my friends is an attorney. He said to me, "Look, if you're wanting to switch fields, you should go into being a postal carrier or postal worker." And he talked to me about all these benefits, and then because I'm a veteran, I'd have preference and
oh yeah,
and the application. And one of the things he was talking to me was like the great retirement benefits. True or false?
Probably at the time he was probably under civil service. In 1985, 6 months before I got hired, Ronald Reagan took the post office out of civil service and made us part of Social Security. And so when I do eventually retire, I can't collect Social Security until I'm 62.
Mm-hmm.
So I can get out earlier than 62. But what would happen would be I'd collect my postal retirement, and then they would give me a supplement to get to equal like Social Security.
Wow.
If that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I may go, I may not go. I'll have to wait and see. I still have a son who's in college, so I got to go at least till he graduates. He'll graduate later in 2023.
Wow.
And,
listen to you dropping a little history and politics on us. That's good.
Yeah, because I suffered because of that. Guys that got hired 6 months before me were under civil service, and they've all gotten out at age 55 and gone. That's why I'm now number 2. Everybody, when I started at my particular office, we had 21 routes, and I was number 31 in seniority.
Wow.
And that was in 1985, and I just became number 2 in the last year. Last January, I became number 2 in seniority. It took a lot of years to get there, and the problem with, like I was saying earlier, guys now they just want to walk in the door, and they want all the best routes. They don't want to work hard, and they don't stay around.
So do different routes pay different amounts?
No, I'm what's considered a city carrier, and city carriers are all paid a flat. Well, there's steps involved. I'll say like the beginning rate right now is like $19 an hour. Mm-hmm. And I'll just put it this way. At the moment, I'm up over 30, but I'm at the max that you can make.
Right.
Because I have so many years. But so you have to put in so long, and there's like 9 or 10 steps increases that you get, the longer you're there. But these guys just want to walk in the door anymore and automatically they don't want to pay their dues.
Yeah, I really can see that. I can see that. Like, as much as like people, brag or boast on social media or whatever, it's like, you want to brag about the money you make, but you don't want to do the work that it takes to get there. I totally get that.
Yeah, I mean, these guys, and they'll come crying, oh, I got to do this, I got to do that, and I just look them straight in the face and said, there's nothing that you will be asked to do that me and everybody else that works here hasn't done a couple hundred times.
Right. Yeah.
You'll get called in to do your day off, but you might not be able to do your own route, or you might get like right now, everybody has to carry. We don't have enough people, so we have to break up 3 or 4 routes a day that are 7 hours long. Everybody gets an hour and a half to 2 hours after you're done your own route, and then continue to go and deliver other people's routes.
You know what?
We just don't have enough carriers.
I have seen that. So our postman was out with COVID, and they so I hadn't seen him in a while. So a couple weeks go by, and I think, oh, he's on vacation. And so a couple weeks go by, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. It's a month or more. So I go out there when I know that they're going to be coming, and I said, like, hey, where's Ralph? She said, oh, honey, he's got COVID. He's not doing well at all. He's on a ventilator. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, in the last year, that's taken a real big toll. From the time it started, March 2020, which was a very scary time at the post office, because we were one of the few people that were, besides real important people like doctors and nurses, that were still working. Fortunately, we only had one employee catch COVID from March all the way through the following January. And then we only had 1 or 2, the rest up until like last September. And now we've had like 15 people.
Wow.
Have gotten it. Knock on wood, I'm one of them that hasn't gotten it.
Yeah. We were all worried and sent him a card, and when he came back, we gave him a car with some money, told him we missed him, and
I'm sure he'll appreciate that and he'll remember that.
Oh yeah. We gave him and he wrote us a really, really nice Christmas card back after the one I sent him, and tell him that he's the best carrier, because I'm sure it's a benefit to him, But so on his way out, we live probably 3 blocks from the post office. He'll drop off the packages. So we'll get our packages at noon, and then get our actual mail at like 6. So it's probably a benefit to him, but we really like getting our packages that we're waiting on. Anybody that's expected to get a package wants to get it as soon as possible. So.
Yeah, and he's probably, especially the bigger the package, you want to get that out of your, especially in those smaller trucks, you want to get them out of your truck as soon as you can so you have more room to operate. I mean, fortunately for me, I'm driving a Dodge ProMaster. I got tons of room in that thing. But since COVID started, the internet boom of packages just took off. And we had days where we couldn't get other guys couldn't get all their packages in the back of the truck, along with their normal mail. They would have to go out and deliver like half the route, then come back and get a second run to take everything out.
Yeah. So when I, talked to the lady, and I said, "Oh, it's horrible for him." She says, "Yeah." And I said, "So you guys pick up his route?" She said, "Yeah, we split it, And so,
yep.
And she's like, "It's a ton more work for us." And so we will see them. If you look out the windows, you'll see one driver go down the road and then come back up the road and then go back down the same road.
Now, are you curbside boxes, or he walks house to house?
But yeah, puts them on the porch.
No, I mean your mailbox.
Our mailbox is curbside.
Okay.
Yeah, but the large ones is up to the house.
Okay, that's nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Well, we're all my particular office. We only have like one street that is curbside. Everything else is all house to house. We have a lot of. Do you know what a row house is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, we have half our district is all row houses. Like a quarter of it is twin houses, and then the rest are all single houses. And then my particular route, which I've had for 6 years, I waited my whole career to get this route, is all apartments. So we had that nice snowstorm last weekend, but everything is, so I don't have to trudge house to house through the snow. Everything's all shoveled for me. I got heat in the winter, air conditioning in the summer.
Wow.
My particular route, because a lot of guys, they don't like dealing with apartments because you get a lot of people that move in and out, and there's a lot of route maintenance that has to be done. But I'm one of those sick people that enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And it's less physical. I could probably get, if I had house to house, I'd definitely be going out next January. But I can probably last another couple of years, being that I'm in apartments, because basically it's almost what your guy does, where he doesn't have to get out and walk house to house. He's just driving along, put it into the box. Well, I drive along, pull up to the front of the apartment complex, go in, might have a bank of 100 boxes on a wall, and I'm in there for a half hour or so trying to sort all the mail out.
Right. So is the mail pre-sorted for you?
I would say anymore 75% is 75, 80%. It's called, it came to be in the mid 90s. They came up with this thing called DPS, delivery point sequencing, and they run the mail through the machines. And same thing happens at your place, and it comes in 2-foot mail trays. Then it's in order from house to house.
So it's like the clear, like sort of clear trays. They're white.
Right, the white trays, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
When I first started, everything was sorted by hand. My particular office, we had 14 clerks that came in every morning, sorted everything by hand, starting at 2 a.m. Then the carriers came in at 7, and we cased from 7 until about 11. But over the course of time, now we have less than, instead of being in there 4 hours a case in the morning, we're only in there for less than an hour of casing mail. And that's why we've lost 3 routes over the years, because they've just made every other route longer. And we've gone from 14 clerks down to 4.
Wow.
Because they don't have that much to sort in the morning. The biggest thing in sorting anymore is the package boom in the last 10 years.
Yeah, we get a ton of packages. I mean, the wife orders, I order. and with what's happened since 2020, we do so much more shopping online and don't spend time in stores looking around and like our groceries. Today, Jana texted me and she's like, "Hey, we've got an order by the door." Didn't even know she made an order, and it was Instacart dropping things off, and
Right.
and,
Yep.
and that's really really nice. And she works from home now too, so yeah, it's really nice that we're able to do that, and Amazon,
Well, what people don't realize is not only does the post office that we deliver our own packages, and that is a good amount, but we also deliver at my office. Amazon drops off 1 to 2 pallets of packages every day. UPS drops off a pallet or 2 packages every day for us to deliver. There's an independent contractor called UPS Mail Innovations, which is a subcontractor of UPS, will drop us off a pallet full of packages every day. And there's 2 other, the names are escaping me right now, that drop off about a pallet of packages every day for our office to deliver on top of our postal packages.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we're
we get our
delivering more and
Amazon
more
through you guys too. Yeah.
Right. We're delivering more and more packages all the time. I mean, and since the pandemic started, we never had people working Sundays. And now we have like 4 or 5 guys working every Sunday. But during the pandemic, we had like 15 guys working every Sunday.
Wow.
Because we couldn't get it all out on a Saturday. We had to come in on Sundays. Matter of fact, one time, was it not this October 2020, I had to come in and carry my route because we were so short the day before. My route didn't get delivered. Because I was also the fill-in supervisor, and I happened to be on the desk that day. So I had to come in on Sunday and deliver my route.
Oh my gosh, that's why we were getting mail on Sundays.
Yes, and as a matter of fact, my office, it just happened the other week where guys had to. We had so many call-outs on Saturday, like the regulars had to come in on Sunday and deliver their routes because all of them couldn't go out.
Wow.
But all of a sudden, within the last couple of weeks, we've gotten 4 new employees. 2 of them already seem really good. One just started the other day. He seems like he'll be okay. And then there's another one on the way starting on Monday. So the cavalry's coming. As a matter of fact, 2 of the guys that have been out, they'll be back Monday. And then the 2 other injured guys should be back by the beginning of March. So hopefully nobody quits and we can get back to having a rest again.
Yeah. So a couple more USPS questions here.
Certainly.
What kind of shoes do you wear?
I personally, everybody wears different stuff. There are vendors that you're supposed to buy official shoes to wear, like Reebok has shoes you can buy, and Thorogood and Converse, and they have a nice selection. But the ones I wear are made by Rocky Mountain Shoes, and they're called the Rocky Mountain Sport Chukkas, and I've been wearing them for like the last 20 years, and I can get up to a year out of those things. They're a real lightweight, kind of a sneaker type thing. But now that I'm in apartments, I can get almost 2 years out of a pair of shoes.
Wow.
Because I'm not walking on the concrete all day long. I'm on carpet.
And so are you're responsible for your own shoes, obviously, but do they have to be a
No,
uniform?
not necessarily. We do get a uniform allotment. I want to say it's like $379 a year. But if you buy from certain vendors, they'll give you, if you spend your whole allotment with them, they'll give you like an extra 20%. So you can get, an extra pair of gloves or belts or whatever. But yeah, you're supposed to buy your shoes through them. They have a little green tag on them that say they're postal approved. And should you get hurt and you don't have those shoes on, they'll want to, put your rear up a flagpole.
So does that include the shirts and the shorts and the?
Oh yeah. You buy your shirt and shorts, and I mean it takes years to finally get everything without having to put any money out of your own pocket. I mean, when you're first starting out, the stuff is so expensive that there's no way you can get everything you need. You actually do have to dip into your wallet in the beginning. But now I've been around so long, I always buy, 2 pairs of shoes every year. I have my Gore-Tex rain gear that I've had for a couple of years now. I can usually get about 5 years out of the rain gear. Then there's special snow boots that you buy, and it's very interesting.
So what about the safari-looking hat, the kimchi?
Yeah, I have my kimchi hat. I have 2 versions of it. I got the solid one that I usually wear in the rain or an ice storm or something like that, because it bounces off real nice. You would love the sound of rain bouncing off that thing. And then I had the one with the holes in it that allows the air to go through.
Wow.
So I got both versions. Now we have a guy who recently retired that used to wear the hold versions, and he didn't exactly have the most hair on top of his head, and it would leave a unique design from the sun on top of his head. and he never looked in the mirror and noticed it. We used to just tease him to no end.
or what are those called, like in the catalog? Is it pith?
Yes, pith helmets.
Yeah, I'm looking here online. I also did look at your mail trucks.
The holes might be called a sun helmet, but the solid ones are definitely the pith helmets. Yeah,
and then the Dodge ProMaster is like a minivan. So if people don't know what you're talking about, it's like a minivan, and you actually have a sliding door.
Yeah, I have a sliding door on the side. I got the shelves in it, and myself, I usually work out of the back. I put the mail on the floor, so I don't have to walk in and out of the vehicle all day long. Now I just work out of the back, and then I sort everything. I have 4 different apartment complexes, so when I'm loading up in the morning, everything for one apartment complex goes into one spot, and like that. And then the stuff that I'm delivering first, I have on the floor next to my mail.
Yeah. So
I just open up the back doors, swing them wide open, and then I'll have like 3 trays going across, and then my packages, and I'll have a tray of the smaller packages which are called spurs in the post office, and I do my thing.
Yeah, so this picture that I'm looking at, you can just tell that it's completely staged because this mail truck is way too neat.
Yeah. Oh no, we just chuck that stuff in there.
Yeah. Well, sometimes when I go down in the morning, 9:00, I'll see whenever they open and I'm getting stamps. I try to go there early because it's a small post office, and the people in there are usually people who don't live here who are trying to mail something, so they take a long time, and there can be a line, out, around, and down and back on the side. So it takes it can take a while if you wait. And when I go down there, I'll see the mail carriers loading into their mail truck, and
right.
And I also see when they come by here. Well, cool. I learned a lot about the mail carrier, which is something I was interested in.
Oh, I hope I didn't bore everyone else out there with all that postal talk.
Hey, we only get 50 downloads a week, so 50 people, 50 people this week are going to go, well, at least I learned something about mail carrying. I mean, hey, you think wrestling podcasts, wrestling group. Well, that's one of the things I love about the brothership, right? Is like, and the podcast, Breaking Kayfabe with Bowser and Barry, is like, it's not just wrestling. People think, oh, you like wrestling, or you were a wrestler or whatever. Oh, you're just a dumb person who thinks this stuff is real, and you still follow it. But no, I'm a person that likes wrestling. But I also like, sports, movies, television. I have a family. I'm a dad. There's a whole lot more to me. And you just happen to you're a mailman,
right?
And I find that fascinating. I don't know why.
Actually, the mailman thing has moved into wrestling 2 times for me, in a way. When I was hanging out with Dennis Carluzzo and Jim Cornette, I actually had the plane ticket in my hand where they were going to fly. Cornette was arranged for me to fly to Atlanta and deliver an express mail on TBS, but the thing fell apart and I didn't wind up going.
Wow. Well, so let's back up. And how did you first meet Jim Cornette?
Through Dennis Carluzzo.
Okay.
How'd
you first meet Dennis Carluzzo?
I first met Dennis Carluzzo on you know the name Joel Goodhart.
Right. Yep.
Well, Joel Goodhart and this lady Carmela Panfil used to do a wrestling radio in Philadelphia, and this goes back to like 1985. And after about 2 years, they arranged to do a trip to Memphis. So I went down on a trip to Memphis along with them, and Dennis was a frequent caller of the show. He had his own gimmick. He was Dennis the Menace. He was the bad guy caller who, they would set up little work angles and things like that. And I met Dennis on that trip, and became friends with him and Frank Chili and Jeff Otto and Tom Robinson and I were already friends, and we became like Dennis's posse.
And I'm sorry, what year was that?
86.
Okay.
And after that, somehow Dennis became good friends with Cornette from getting backstage at the Philadelphia Civic Center for the NWA shows. And just as time went on, I ended up meeting Jimmy also, and Bobby and Dennis and Stan. And after the shows, we used to go back to the Rivet Restaurant in Philadelphia, and that's where I really got to know those guys from just talking.
Wow.
And matter of fact, I was just I'll toot my horn. I just had a mention on Cornette's experience a couple weeks ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What was he saying? Please don't tell me he was talking about your your mail carrying experience.
Well, that was it. It was just something quick. They would ask me that they bet I would have a lot of good mailman stories, wild mailman stories.
I beat him to it.
You beat him to it, yeah. But yeah, that's how I got to meet Cornette. So through him, and then but Jim had already known my names from the newsletter world years before that.
So how did your name get in the newsletter world?
Yeah. Let's say back in the early 80s, I used to get the wrestling news, the Kaiser mags, along with the After mags, and they had all those newsletters listed in the back. And I subscribed to a couple of them, like Norman Dooley's Weasel World. Norman Dooley was a good buddy of Cornette's. There was another one guy, I think his name was Fred Adams, who ran the Georgia Wrestling News. And I just started buying newsletters and said, hey, what the hell? Let me start my own, where I would just cover, like Spectrum Wrestling in Philadelphia and the crappy TV shows that WWF was putting out at the time. And I started in 82 and went all the way up through about 92, doing a little, newsletter.
Wow.
It was nothing nothing to write home about. I mean, I still have some of the copies, and I look back and I'm like, boy, this was really bad. But I used to, get ads in the Kaiser magazines and trade newsletters with a lot of people. As a matter of fact, even at one point, I was trading with Meltzer, and I always felt guilty about it because I was getting all this great information from him, and I'm sending him this crappy little newsletter. But yeah, so it was that's how I met Dennis and Jim.
Wow. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, you can't because you weren't there with me, but I feel like when I went to the ECW arena in, let's call it 96, I feel like we went past the Spectrum. Did we? Coming from
you could have
Virginia.
Yeah, you could have it all.
I remember at the exit, or maybe the exit prior, there was someone with a sign saying, "I've got 76ers tickets" or something.
It wasn't, the ECW arena wasn't that far away from the Spectrum. Matter of fact, if you got off 95 and you get off the Broad Street exit and went up to Oregon Avenue, made the right on Oregon Avenue and left on was that Swanson or Rittner? I forget which one. I know It was at the corner of Swanson and Rittner, but you would have gone back past the Spectrum if you went that direction, or if you went up another exit to the Walt Whitman Bridge and you got off there That would be another way into the ECW arena, which if you were going in 96, it wasn't the nicest place in the world. I mean, it's like the Taj Mahal today, the way they cleaned it up. It's really a nice place. But back then, that was a freaking hole in the ground.
Yeah. So I was in the military. I was 96. I was 22, about to turn 23. And we drove up from Norfolk, Virginia. And I remember we went up off the interstate, made a right, and there was a gas station. And I told the story before, so I'll make it quick. And I had to use the bathroom really bad. Went up to the gas station. Hey, I need to use the restroom. And the lady gave me a whole cinder block with a chain and a key attached to it.
Not surprised.
And I pushed it back to her, and I said, no, thank you. And I went back and got in the car, and I said, hey, let's go up the road and see if we see something else. Well, we saw Chuck E. Cheese. And so we went to Chuck E. Cheese, and we walk in, and it's like a club. And it's dark and smoky. And it's like it's like club, and it's probably 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm gonna guess. I walk in the bathroom, and I go and I'm peeing. This guy walks up next to me, looks over at me. He's like, "What's up, man?" I mean, nothing. And just trying to pee. We pee, get out of there, and then we go down to Swanson and Rittner. So I'm trying to look on the map of where we might have been. The two Chuck E. Cheeses. Was it South Philadelphia? Is that where the
yeah, that's where the arena is. It's in '96. You would have been the hot dog place was there, Texas Wieners.
I don't remember.
Which is now Tony Luke's. That's on Oregon Avenue. Which either way in that you went into the arena, you would have had to go on past that.
Yeah. So how many times did you go to the ECW arena?
I was pretty much a regular there from right after Eddie Gilbert left up until probably around 96. Because I had drifted away from Dennis at that point, and I wasn't really the quote smart in with the smart fans anymore. So it was nice just to go and. Me and my buddy Dave Press, we would go every month, sit in the bleachers, and him and I invented the sweat towel because that place didn't have air conditioning, and we always went with a towel, especially in the summertime, to wipe the sweat off.
So
other salt, and they started doing it.
Well, the event that I went to was the one, I think they call it Crossing the Line Again, or the night the line was crossed again, but it was the night that Paulie announced that there would be a pay-per-view. Okay,
yeah, I don't think I was at that one. I was out of there right before the pay-per-view started.
Yeah, that was one of the craziest places I've ever been to in my entire life. It was a whole nother world for me of this. I don't remember going to the restroom there.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
So maybe I didn't, but I watched the show, so my back was to the crow's nest, which I learned later, and I have the video somewhere. And the other thing that I remember about being there was, so you have this like 2-lane road. And there's a median in between. So there's 2 lanes coming the other way, and there's houses there. And people would just park in one of the lanes to get out and go to the house.
Well, the whole city's like that. Is Broad Street, people park in the middle turning lane, and they just park there.
Wow.
It's wild. I try to stay out of the city as much as I can. Unfortunately, my son goes to college in the city, so I have to go through Will Smith land, West Philadelphia.
Born and raised.
Born and raised. Actually, it's not that. It's not too bad, but they say you don't veer off certain streets.
So do you see that he's coming out with a new show? It's just called Bel Air.
No, I did not know that.
I saw it advertised. I think Netflix or Peacock, one of those two. That's kind of all we watch. But it's like he's producing or something. But it just seems like it's like his story of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air, but more serious, and it's called Bel Air. And there's an Uncle Phil in it.
Oh wow, I probably would check that out.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
he really is famous in West Philly. There's if you drive on Market Street, I'm trying to think where it is, about 54th, 53rd of Market. They got like a big flag hanging up, home of Will Smith.
oh, that's good. That's good.
And that's only a couple blocks away from where the Philadelphia Arena used to be.
So the Spectrum is no longer there, right?
Now the Spectrum was knocked down. They built the which is now called the Wells Fargo Center, where John F. Kennedy Stadium was right next to the Spectrum. Where the Spectrum was now is called Philly Live, I believe. It's like a bar and entertainment area to kill time, whether you're going to a sporting event at the Wells Fargo Center, across the street at Lincoln Financial Field, or vertically at the Citizens Bank Park for the Phillies.
Oh,
yeah, it's a nice complex they built down there. I feel safe when I go there.
That's good. That's good. Where I live, there's not many places I wouldn't feel safe. And actually, where I grew up and in the most places that I've lived, except when I lived in Raleigh. I lived in Raleigh, and we rented this house. I was just out of college, and the house that I got was near NC State, and my roommate was going to NC State and finishing up. I'd already finished, and it was also near the comedy club that he worked, which is Charlie Goodnight's in Raleigh. And so I thought, looking at the houses, they all looked nice because we went in the daytime. But at night, the house that was right next to ours was one of those boarding houses where they rent out the rooms and everybody shares a kitchen and a bathroom. And that place completely changed. But it was only that one house and then another one across the street that was a little shady. But the rest of it was okay. I mean, and kind of nice. I mean, the house that we lived in was built in 1908, wow. And it was initially 4 rooms, and then they built on like the kitchen and an extra bathroom, and then another bathroom, but it was really a cool old house. But that neighborhood, I learned could be sketchy, and then they learned that here's this crazy middle-aged guy, and I worked in the restaurants and the bars, and I would come in odd hours, and they just learned that hey, there was a guy who insisted one time on mowing my lawn, and I said I don't even barely have grass, so I don't need you to mow my lawn. And then when I reached into my bag, he said, okay, I'm gone. Thank you very much. And that was the end of it. And then they learned, because I worked at the restaurant and carried money, I knew that I had to have some protection. And, right. and I just reached, and he knew what was up. I knew what was up. And then from then on, no one ever asked me to mow my lawn for the other 2 years that I lived there. And then thankfully I moved to Wilmington, and completely different world. So let's talk about some wrestling. So ECW Arena, you went to a bunch of shows there. Did you? How did the people that sat in the front that were always recognized? How'd they get the same seats?
Well, the tickets would go on. Well, once again, it was who you knew. You could get those front seats if you knew the right people.
So it's like straw hat guy.
Yeah, straw hat guy. I knew him a little bit. A lot of those guys that ended up, having their gimmicks, and that FaceTime every show. They were all friends with the people selling the tickets and everything, and they were eventually they became part of the act. So it was.
And are you married to the same woman that you were then?
Yes.
Man, she's a saint,
wife,
right?
My wife is a saint. One thing I learned a long time ago was keep her and wrestling as far apart as possible.
So there was something that
and she lets me go do my thing. That's
that's good. So you posted. Hold on, let me think about it. You posted the group, or maybe it was on your personal page. You were engaged in '92.
yes, engaged, and we got married in '92.
Okay, that was my senior year.
Okay.
So I graduated high school in '92, and then I want to say probably either the end of May 31st, or the 1st of June. And then I went to the military July 31st, 1992. So 1992 was a big year for me. When I saw you post that, I was like, holy crap. It was a big year for Jammie. It was also a big year for me.
Yeah, and we were already engaged and everything, and we weren't getting married for a year or two. Then we found out that her daughter was on the way, so we just went ahead and sped everything up. And she was born on Thanksgiving Day of '92, and everything has just worked out great.
So what do you think is one of the secrets to making a marriage last for years?
Give and take.
Yeah.
You just do I like to do everything? No. Does she like to do everything that I want to do? No. But we do, we just do for each other. And fortunately for me, I married a sports chick.
Okay.
So that even makes life all the better. My wife was all Catholic in both softball and basketball in Philadelphia.
Wow.
So she loves sports. So we've had Flyers season tickets over the years. We've had Sixers season tickets. We've had Phillies season tickes.
That's
never
awesome.
got the Eagles. Never got the Eagles season tickets because neither one of us likes to sit out in the cold. But we've just done everything, and it's worked out perfectly for us.
Yeah,
and it's still like we just got married yesterday. I mean, it's still. I'm one of the lucky few. My guys I work with, a rash of divorces, and matter of fact, we were her family, my family, all said you guys aren't going to last 6 months, and here we're over 30 years.
Wow.
Or we'll be 30 years this June.
Yeah, that's amazing. I feel the same way about Jana. Is that we've been married. It'll be 3 years this August, and so I moved here December the 26th, 2018, and then we got engaged Mother's Day of 2019, and then we got married in September of 2019. And she started working from home immediately, probably. Oh, it was actually the middle of February that she started working from home. And I'm at home, and then I taught the kids at home for a year and a half. And so you would think that two people being confined, that if there were going to be problems, there would be problems. And there's just not. And and they said during the pandemic, divorce rates are going up and people were splitting and whatever because they're confined and things are strained. Not us. I mean, I love it, and she loves it. And as a matter of fact, like the promotion that she just got recently, she could not have gotten had the pandemic not happened, because they would only have hired her had she moved to Cleveland. And,
oh wow!
And that's where their office is, and so we have no plans to move to Cleveland. I'm not saying we wouldn't, but we our kids are here and their dad's here, so it would be difficult for us to do so. But I'm so thankful that she. We announced last night that not only we're going to help one person get there, but we're going to get another person get to.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's just Fan Fest.
That was very generous of the two of you, and
well,
I mean, you guys deserve to be like special recognition, like fans of the year. I mean, that is over and above. I mean, it's
it's actually
just awesome.
It's more her, and I can say it because like she is the breadwinner, and I mean she's successful and busts her ass and has this great job, and she's senior director. She just got that promotion, and she works hard for it. And it's yes, I know technically it's our money, but really it's her money that she earns, and I'm so thankful that she cares enough about what I'm interested in that she goes, oh, here's these guys, and it would be so cool to help these other people get there who might not be able to get there. And I just think that that's awesome that she has that heart,
that was just wonderful. And you picked two great guys to help. I mean, I've never met Joe or Tony personally, but the great thing about social media is that you can, I know there's a lot of fake people out there, but I honestly believe that most of the brothership and most of the wrestling people in general are genuine, and you pick two genuine people from what I can tell. I'm trying to work it out right now where I can get down there. I still can't. I won't know until early March whether I can get down there for this trip or not. But I'm really trying to because I want to meet these two guys.
Yeah. I mean, so do I. And I mean, that was really the thing for me was being here at the Fan Fest was, it wasn't the Ricky Morton and the Robert Gibson and that it was hanging out with the brothership and that I'm telling you, it really weighs a lot in terms of the value of this event. That there's 2,100 members in the brothership, and that so many of these folks want to get there and get to this place. And I know not everybody's got the money to fly or take time off of work and to go and spend the time and do these things. And so that's what I was thinking. I was thinking, man, when I was a member of the brothership before I moved here to Florida, but did I come? No. Could I have afforded it? Probably. But it was, I was 12 hours away, first of all. And then, it's a big deal, I mean, socially to go and you walk in and not actually quote unquote know people,
Right.
And so it was a big deal, and I didn't. And even when I moved here, I didn't go to the first couple. And then on the one we walked in with Ricky Steamboat was there, Larry Zbyszko, Bob Orton Jr. I didn't know how anything worked, but we were there. And then we just kind of walked around, turned around, went and had lunch, and then I saw Jeff and a bunch of people. I think Jeff was walking with Travis Reigns. I'm trying to picture people that I don't remember the other people, but I think Travis Reigns was with him. And I said, hey, and I said, y'all coming, to the back to the Fan Fest? Yeah, we're going to go have lunch. Well, we just finished lunch. We walked around the Fan Fest, and then we're like, all right, well, what do? We didn't know how anything worked, in terms of the autographs or the pictures or any of that stuff. And I'm not really one to go up and I'm not really good at the small talk. Oh, hey, Mr. Steamboat, I really love your arm drag. Or, hey, Mr. Zbyszko, I loved how you stalled for 20 minutes.
Even with all the guys that I've been around over the years, I was never good at the small talk with those guys. As a matter of fact, most of the wrestlers I've ever met, when they asked me what I did, they wanted to talk post office.
Well, so when we walked in this last time, guess who I saw? Chris Zaha. He's very recognizable. And he's got a lot of pictures that he posts, usually of him and Bryson. But there he is. And then I go, hey, Frankie Secrets. Yeah, I recognize you. And then he just starts telling me just these wildly personal family stories with Jana and I. And immediately I felt comfortable. So, Zaha, if you listen to this, I'm very thankful for you for opening up and making us feel welcome. And then I had brought all this stuff. So my daughter used to be into WWE. And she loved Becky Lynch, and we would take her to the NXT. And so, to reward the kids, I got each kid like this box of things that they liked. And, oh, you got an A on your science test? Well, here's something out of your box. And I would do that for both kids. Well, Andy, my daughter, she fell out of it. And I had this ton of wrestling stuff. or if it was something that was inappropriate that I didn't think that she should have, like a life-size banner of Gail Kim in a bikini. I brought those and I handed it out to the guys. Hey, who wants this? Who wants this? And who wants this? And then I took some and gave it to Benji for Antonio and Michael Herrick, Travis Raines. They probably all thought I was all crazy there to do that, but that opened up the door for us all to sit and talk, and it really made for good conversation. And then hearing them talk about Chris was talking about Lex Luger or something, and they can debate that stuff, and I can't, because I didn't watch wrestling for like 20 something years.
Yeah.
So,
the point. No, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
No, that's it.
I was going to say, yeah, the part with hanging out with the guys is the best part. Like I said, I went on my first one of these kind of trips back in '86 with Wrestling Radio, and the most fun was meeting these people that would call their show, or when we were going on the bus from Memphis to Nashville, or just hanging out with the people. And then again in '88, I went to the UAWF convention, where I got to meet guys that I had seen the names for years, the John McAdams, the Ron Lemieux, the Tom Burks, the Sean Grands, the Dave Meltzers, the Harry Whites, and just had a blast. And then I went again the following year in '89, and actually out of that '88 one grew all these other little small gatherings where they came to Philly in February of '88, and then in the Great American Bash in '89, a bunch of guys like Jeff Baldwin, who I met for the first time in '89, came in for the Philly Bash, and we all went to the Baltimore Bash the next day. And then again in like 1990, a bunch of guys all came into town again into Philly. And then what was it, '91 for the first Super Brawl in Tampa, Ron Lemieux formed a gathering. And that's where I got to meet the front row Section D guys, the Howard Bombs, just Ken Herron, just countless names that I had known from over years, but finally got, to meet them and hang out with them. And then I kind of drifted away from wrestling for a while, but go to the ECW arena. And now this is the first thing I've been to in years. My wife's like, hey, you enjoy wrestling? Go have a good time. And that's back to what makes a successful marriage, like I'm saying, give and take, and support your partner in what they do, and that's why we've lasted that long. But yeah, it's definitely meeting everyone and just hanging out. This last time, me, Joe Dombrowski, and Benji and several others, we all had like a what if WrestleMania talk from like '87, '88, and that's what I go for. I go for these hardcore, in-depth conversations, plus meeting a lot of unique, real nice individuals.
You know what I want to do, and I've thought about this. I really don't know how to make it happen yet, but I want to record those conversations. And here's the reason, and I've said it a few times, but so how old are your grandkids?
I have one, and she's 6 months.
Okay, so let's just throw a hypothetical that's horrible. Let's say you die tomorrow. She's not going to remember Grandpa, right?
Right.
Yep. And so what I want to do is record people talking about what they're passionate about, so that the future generations can go, oh my gosh, my grandpa was into wrestling. Look at this cool clip on YouTube or wherever.
Right.
Of my grandpa talking about wrestling with his friends. How cool would that be? You think about your grandpa, right? And
right.
whatever your grandpa was into, and it's like, that would be so neat to be able to see or just be able to hear. And that's why one of the reasons I wanted to start the podcast of Broken Kayfabe was because the brothership is so interesting and their stories. And I think you should preserve the conversations and actually who these people are and what they're passionate about, for future generations, and they will be. They'll be on the internet forever. So
Right.
so in 200 years, someone that is a relative of yours, great grandkid, they'll find out they're related to you, and they'll Google you, and they'll go, oh my gosh, he was into wrestling. Oh, listen to this clip of him talking about working for the mail service, talking about
Absolutely.
my grandmother, talking about the kids. Oh, my dad was in college then. I mean, all this crazy stuff that they will be able to hear, and how neat that will be. And so that's what the reason is. So I was thinking, if I could record just some of those conversations between people, whether it be just audio and make it into a podcast and upload to the YouTube or whatever, or if I could just do a video, upload to YouTube, and it'll be there forever. I want to do that because I just think that it will be so huge, and of course you put the people's names, Michael Herrick, Pidgey, Fido, whoever, right? You put their names, and there it is, and you Google it, boom, there they are talking about something that they were passionate about, something they enjoyed, and you see them having a good time. And it's nothing like, you see the pictures of the kids who go to jump over a balcony and trip and hit their face because they're drunk. You don't want to be that guy, but you want to be the guy that, here you are talking about something that you love, because it's something that you do, and I think that will be so cool in the future to just preserve those types of things.
Oh yeah, I'd support you 100% in your efforts there.
Yeah, my grandpa, that they used to say my grandpa was a prize fighter, and I remember one time, my grandpa had a junkyard, and my grandma used to quote unquote watch us, which means, hey, go play in the junkyard, and which really isn't watching, right? And then there was a river behind it. And I remember one time this guy came and talked to my grandpa, and he was there talking, and he was saying to me, in the little country voice, boy, you don't know how tough your grandpa was. He never got knocked down, and I saw my grandpa as this old, feeble man. I couldn't see him throwing the dukes and knocking people out.
Right.
And so my grandpa used to talk about that he would fight at the Grand Theater. And so in 2017, I took a couple months and went and stayed up with my mom and helped her get some things straightened out around the house. And I was up running around my hometown, which is a really small hometown. And I saw this lady planting these flowers, and I went and just made a conversation with her. And somehow we started talking about this building. And she said, yeah, that's where the Grand Theater used to be. And I said, really? And she says, come here, I'll show it to you. You got time? I'm like, yeah, I got time. So she takes me in through this door, and we go through the kind of this weird hallway where there's offices, and you can tell it's an old building. And so the front part of it on the street, it was called Davis Apartments. And so she told me, she says, so this back in the day used to be called the Davis Hotel, and it was the Davis Hotel, and all these famous country music singers or bluegrass would come here. And she said, if you go around to the front, there's a list of all these famous people that came there. And I can't remember one of them, but there are a couple of like big names that came there, right? And she said, well, they turned it into from a hotel to an apartment because the person didn't want black people come in there. And so in order to do that, they didn't have fair housing laws back then. He turned it into apartments because he didn't want to rent a room to a black person. And so this lady tells her this. Her name was Tammy, and she makes like the embroidered quilts. They're really, really cool, but they were really expensive too. And she has like a little antique shop. So we go back through there, and she goes, "This is the Grand Theater," and I'm like, "This is the Grand Theater," and it had like you know how like the gym floors have like the small wood slats,
right?
It had like that with one, and you could see like the basketball goal lining and one basketball goal. This is on Main Street in Mount Airy, North Carolina. and you could see like things set up around there. And then there was like a partition that could be moved back and forth. And then on one side on the wall, which was the wall that she was planting these flowers at, but she was on the outside, obviously, that you could see this balcony. And then there was chicken wire across the front of the balcony. And so we go and we walk up the steps, we go to there, and I look, and there's a old Playboy magazine that it's there on one of the seats. And I didn't look at the year. I was just amazed that this place was here, because I'd been on Main Street thousands of times. I grew up in this town, never even knew that that's what was in this building. There's a finance on the Main Street part of it. There's a finance company. I had no idea that this whole big place that was once a theater and like where they had dances and whatever was even back there. So we start to go out the back entrance, different way than we came, and you pass like a turnstile, and she says this was the black people's entrance, and this was the white people's entrance, and there was a ticket that was laying there with a pin over it. I picked up the pin and I took a picture of this ticket, and it was, I want to say 1974, and it was the Southern Regionals Hairdressers Associating meeting. And the guest speaker was a guy named, I'm going to get it wrong, but I think it was Bill Wampler from Knoxville, Tennessee, and that's how they advertised him. I took a picture of that.
That's interesting.
So the last time that building was used was 1974. And somebody was in there about to start renovating it. And then I realized as I left there, oh my gosh, that is the same building that my grandpa used to go and fight in.
Wow.
Now,
that's awesome.
That time I imagined, oh my gosh, I wish I could remember what Grandpa said at our mission. That, I wish I could remember what other people said about my grandpa fighting, and it's like, all I remember about my grandpa is that he was a junk man, had a junkyard, he had a monkey, and he had Alzheimer's later, that there's not a whole lot that I remember about Grandpa.
Wait, Grandpa had a monkey?
Yeah.
Oh,
we did
cool.
have a monkey. Yeah, my mom has a very blurry picture of it, and I remember a little bit about it. That was in this basement. So, in the house, I want to say they built it in '53, and so it had a basement, and that's where his office was for his junkyard, and it was cinder block basement, and that's where I remember the monkey being in a cage, and I remember the monkey. You couldn't not go pet the monkey. It was a very mean monkey, and who knows?
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah. It was not like it was a big monkey. I would probably say it was a chimp.
Okay.
It was not.
I thought you were going to talk that it was like their kid and he had free run of the house and everything.
No.
That's where I thought you were going with that.
I wish.
That is cool.
I wish, but it was a junkyard monkey that my grandpa probably got for trading, I don't know, liquor or a gun or a car or something. And
on a side topic, isn't Mount Airy what Mayberry's based off of?
Well,
the Andy Griffith show?
Yes. So Andy Griffith is from our hometown.
Okay.
And, when I was growing up, there were just a ton of textile mills. Everybody worked in a textile mills. My parents both worked on textile mills for years. And I remember, I want to say it was 94 or 5. My mother was working at textile mills, and she had worked there 26 years, and she got laid off. And my mom is a crazy worker. If she's supposed to work, she's going to be there. I remember her driving in snow and, just being, always wanting to be at work, not missing work. And she got laid off, and it was just devastating to her. Mm. But when NAFTA happened, and I want to say 93, 94, they started not sending the work, but they started making these factories in Mexico and Honduras with the textile mills, and that's where the work went because people there were working cheaper.
Right.
Yeah, and so it basically shut the town down. Well, Andy Griffith had been on, no, not Andy Griffith, Oprah had came to our town and put it on her show, and from then on, there's just been a resurgence of Andy Griffith fans coming to town. I mean, they come in the buses, and it's mainly old people, but you still see some young people who like it. But and I heard someone say that Ted Turner built his WTBS on wrestling and Andy Griffith. And,
yeah.
Right. And someone tried to correct me and say, yeah, well, also CNN. And I said, no, well, CNN wasn't until 81.
Yeah, that came later on.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, so Andy Griffith. And so there's things that are named for, Andy Griffith or Opie's Five and Dime or,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it really is, and the town has really embraced it, and they have Mayberry Days. When I was growing up, they only had a Autumn Leaves Festival, which was just basically a street fair with the booths and the whatevers set up, and that started, I want to say, in '68 or '69.
Yeah, it's amazing how smaller towns, if they have that one big celebrity, make the most out of it.
Well, it's done amazing. And the other thing that happened
because my daughter went to Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which is in Indiana, Pennsylvania, out near Pittsburgh, Johnstown area, and that was the home of Jimmy Stewart. And everything is in the town. There's a Jimmy Stewart museum. When you on the main street, when you use a crosswalk, it's a Jimmy Stewart impersonator, like saying, "You may now cross the street." In his voice, and there's big signs everywhere. And like you just said about something was named after Opie, there's the George Bailey store and things like that.
Well, there's an Andy Griffith Museum, and anybody that's a fan of Andy Griffith or the Andy Griffith Show, you should definitely go check this thing out. So when it started in the mid 90s, it was in the back of this guy's house, and it was his cousin, Emmett Forrest, that owned the house, and it was just like 2 rooms. You gave him $1 and you go and you look around. And so I went there in 2017, 2018. And if you go back through my pictures on Facebook, you'll see these. But it is amazing. And I had just came from a trip in Nashville, and it was right up there with like the quality of the museum in Ryman.
Wow.
And actually, I think that. So I commented on that to one of the guys there, Daniel Gardner, and he said, who I didn't know, but we're friends still to this day. And he says, yeah, the guy. The people who did the museum at the Ryman, that same designer designed this museum as well. And so it's small, but it is just really, really well done. Like there's like a little mock-up of a porch, and they've got some of the memorabilia that's there, locked up. But it is really, really, really cool. And the other thing that our town is known for is the Siamese twins, Ang and Chang Bunker. Retired there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember them from the Guinness Book of World Records.
Well, so here's a couple things that you may not know. So they married and they had kids. They had 2 different houses. Ang lived on one side of the Fisher River. Chang lived on the other side. I think they had 21, 22 kids between them. And so those descendants and the descendants of those descendants keep track of each other. And so they'll have a number, like, let's say they're from Chang's side, so their number will begin with a C. And then if they were the first kid of Chang, the next number will be 1. If they were that kid's third from that, it'd be 3. And then if they were the second born, it'd be 2. So their number will be C132. So if they meet someone, they go, "Oh, you're part of the Chang and Ang family. Well, my number is C132." And the other one will go, "Oh, I'm Ang 2347. Oh, okay." It is really, really neat. And
that's cool.
When I went to a community college there was a girl who said that she was a descendant of them. Her last name was Dalahai, and the professor goes, "Oh my gosh, I can see, like, you sort of have almond-shaped eyes. I can see that." So, by that point, she's probably 4 generations, but you could still see some of those.
Wow.
So how did Indiana, Pennsylvania get Indiana? How did it end up being Indiana?
I can't tell you. Some goes way back. They just named their town Indiana, I guess.
Because there's a Miami of Ohio.
Yes, and
there's also a California, Pennsylvania.
Yes, there is. There's a California University of Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
I had a friend that went to school there. There's also Pittsburgh, California.
Really?
Oh yeah, and there's Philadelphia, Mississippi. It's all over. I mean, they just come up with the name somehow.
So you mentioned how you first met Jeff. How did you first meet Barry?
Believe it or not, I met Barry for the first time at the first Fan Fest I went to.
What year was that, you think?
Oh, just 2 years ago, right before the pandemic hit in 2019.
Oh, wow. Who was there then?
Let's see. I walked in the door and there was Michael Herrick, Bruce Cohen, Mark Aldry.
I mean the legends.
Oh, the legends. That first year was Rocky Johnson.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was shortly before he passed away.
Man,
that's not the most important thing for me is the legends. It's the people. But I'm trying to think. Tony Gurria was there.
But if that's not a reason to go, right? I mean that's a reason to go. You got to beat Rocky Johnson, yeah.
Oh, Barry Windham, J.J. Dillon were there.
Oh.
I'm trying to think who. Larry Hamilton was there. Bushwhacker Luke.
Larry Hamilton, the Missouri Mauler?
No. He was like a mid-card guy that worked Florida and Alabama.
Okay.
He was there. I mean, he would get like mid-card pushes. I'm trying to think who else was there.
That's cool that you got to see Barry Windham and J.J. Dillon in the same one.
Yeah, he did and Dutch Mantell.
I used to be a big Dutch fan, and right before the pandemic hit, I always buy stuff off of people, even if I don't want it. It's like to support them, right? If I listen to your podcast, you say, "Hey, go to Prostitutes to buy this shirt," I go and do it. So I went and bought a couple things from Dutch, never got them. Kept listening to his podcast religiously, and he'd say, "Hey, if you've got a question, something you want to talk about, I'm also going to sell some memorabilia, so email me." Emailed him and said, "Hey, interested in these things?" And then I emailed him again and said, "Hey, Dutch, I bought some stuff off your website, never got it, and I haven't heard back from you. What gives?" And he lives not too far from me, and so I eventually got kind of hot about it. That never did I get a response. Never did I get anything from Dutch, and so I wasn't buying it because I want it. I was just buying it because I listened to his podcast. He says, "Hey, you want to support the podcast? Buy this stuff." So he took my money. Never responded. Never sent me my stuff. Never, and I think maybe it was a technical issue. I'm gonna, because he's older. But come on, if he's telling people to message him with questions and he's not reading the email that says, "Hey,
that's not right.
You never sent me my stuff." But I wrote it off, and then I stopped listening to his podcast. So,
well, I won't tell you my Dutch Mantell story then.
Was he great?
Yeah, it actually was, because I have a friend, Brian Trammell, who is out of Jonesboro, Arkansas. He actually has his own podcast too, and he had Dutch on a couple times. Because Brian used to kind of work the Memphis circuit, and he never, like a manager on spot shows. He never really appeared on TV or anything like that. But long story short, I dropped his name to Dutch, and Dutch, kayfabe me in the beginning, and he said, "Oh yeah, I know that kid, Brian Trammell," and so that kind of broke the ice. And then I bought a book from him, and I asked him to sign the book, And he said, all right, who am I making out to? And I said, Jamie. And he goes, all right, J-A. And I said, well, wait a minute. My name's kind of unique and original. My name's spelled with 2 M's. And he closes the book with the pen. He goes, all right, wait a minute. You have a name named Jamie with 2 M's. There's got to be a story behind this. And I ended up telling him the story how when I was born, my mom, I was 3 months early, my mom had a bad delivery and she was out of it for over a week. So they started pressuring my dad, you have to come up with a name. And my name was going to be, all the old wives' tales said I was going to be a girl. So the name they had picked out was Tammy, Tammie. So my dad panicked and came up with Jamie, Jammie. So I told
That's
Dutch
tremendous.
I told Dutch that story, and he ended up, signing the book and everything. And then when he had his the post dinner was an evening with Dutch where he tells stories and things. He actually brought that up there to everybody. See that guy over there? He's got a unique story. And then he told my story, and everybody got a kick out of it.
Wow. Well,
but then I have bad experiences. Guys like Stan Lane, who everybody seemed to love. Stan hated me, and I never even did anything to the guy. But everybody has different, perceptions and run-ins with, different personalities.
Well, I think that night I told you my Ricky Morton story, right?
Refresh me.
So I worked with Ricky Morton. I probably half dozen times, working with him in the ring. I worked him one-on-one a couple times, and then a tag team, and then we were on shows probably 5 or 6 more times. He called me by my work name, Hollywood, and
I got to find out what the rest of that work name. I was listening to the last one. I haven't listened all the way through on that one, so I don't know if you exposed the name. I'm going to find out what the name was if you did.
Yeah, so I said to him, hey, we worked together a couple times, and he said, who for? I said, my cousin Bobby Sechrist was primarily who we worked with, and he said, oh, yeah, Bobby's dead. I said, yeah, Bobby's dead. It just completely blew over the part that he and I had wrestled together, wrestling against each other, right? Completely blew it over. I'm sitting there next to my wife. And then he said, when did he die? I said, about 2015. He goes, oh, what got him? I said, congestive heart failure. He goes, oh, okay. The whole time he was not making eye contact with me or talking to me. And so I'm gonna give it into the defense of Ricky. It was just when they had just started, with letting people into the room, right? And
okay.
So the guy in front of me goes there and buys $100 worth of stuff. And so Ricky is into selling gimmicks mode. He is not into fan fest mode, right? Of standing there talking to people and, hey, you don't have to rush and get through this. You can actually talk and have a conversation with people because, there's only, 160 people, whatever, that's going to be attending.
And Fan Fest wise, that's the best thing for all you that ever think about going to the Fan Fest. Not only hanging out with the guys, but getting that one-on-one time with the wrestlers. And most of them are very friendly and will talk to you, whether you buy something or not. They'd rather, like you're about to say about Ricky Morton, I think. But yeah, go ahead.
I think it had it. So that was 11 o'clock when it first opened, but because I wanted to be there to get the Jerry Jarrett book.
Oh yeah.
But what I didn't realize was after he did his cup of coffee, everybody went to him and said, "Can I have a book?" Where I didn't think he was going to sell the books till 11, so I waited and missed out on that. Jerry Jarrett saw my disappointment. So anyway, Ricky Morton just completely blew me off. Like, we hadn't worked together, and I could have went to the storage unit and got pictures of me and him and David Cash together, Kid Cash and Chris Hamrick, of us all hanging out, but I didn't, and I could tell stories that would not, benefit Ricky Morton, but I won't. But the point was, he could have stopped and looked me in the eye and asked me questions about what I was talking about instead of just, yes, I know Ricky Morton's a legend, but also, my cousin paid Ricky Morton in advance many times to come to the shows and work, and we worked matches together, and he was happy and shook my hand and thanked me, and I thanked him and was always respectful. He could have taken just a little more time to acknowledge that we knew each other,
or at least faked it.
Exactly. Yes, and that's part of charisma, which Ricky Morton's got a ton of, right? Is that charisma, and I tell my kids this, is like, it's when you meet people and you hang out with people, you make them feel good about themselves, and it doesn't have to be this big production, but that's why there's people who are charismatic and who are entertaining and who make people feel good about themselves, and then there's people who, when you have a conversation, they only want to talk about themselves. It's the same thing, and it's just like when Robert Gibson saw it, and to me, when they were talking, Robert Gibson was hilarious. He was like a very, very important part of the show, right?
Yeah, Robert. I've met Robert before. I've met Ricky before too, but Robert's always been a really cool dude. He's much better than what he exhibited on television.
Yes, 100%.
It's the same with Bob Eaton. If they use their real personalities on television, they might have been over bigger than the act.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And you know what? Robert Gibson's work is flawless.
Oh yeah.
Flawless. I mean, Ricky Morton's too, and I'm very thankful to be able to work with Ricky Morton, but I really wish that the time that I met him after, this is me opening up a little bit, but man, I didn't talk about wrestling or me wrestling or my career in wrestling, and that was in quotes career, 6 years. I didn't talk about any of that for 20 plus years. And only after, I got married and kids and, and I learned to open up and put what people were going to judge me by, because people don't get it, so I sort of just started opening up about that the last couple of years.
I mean, with the advent of social media, there's a whole area for people like you to jump into. And you've landed into this group, which is a great thing, because there's so many people that listen to this podcast every week that have never met wrestlers, have never talked or know any knowledge of their personal lives or anything. And here you are, a real pro wrestler, and you're just a normal guy. Going right into the group.
Yeah, I'm beyond. There's another one that worked in our group. That's Jason Ward. Yeah, Jason worked up.
I did not know that.
Yes, Jason worked up in Portland. Worked with the grappler, and he's got some interesting pictures. And so he worked a little later than me.
Oh, okay, I'll have to reach out to him. I did not know that.
Yeah, so in right before the pandemic, so 2020. When New Japan came to St. Petersburg, so this was probably February, Michael Bukikio, the owner of High Spots, I had either seen or something messaged him that I saw he was going to be here or New Japan was coming. He's like, yeah, I'll be there. And I said, oh, well, I'm going to come and see you, because I hadn't seen him in a while. And actually, when I lived in Wilmington, I want to say in 2018, before I moved here that summer, he had asked me to help one of his friends sell this house. And there's a whole big long story about that house. I'll tell off the air at the fan fest if you remind me about it and who the person was. And so I went down and looked at this house, and I was going to help this person sell it, and ended up they went a different route. But so Michael and I had talked a whole bunch then, and so I saw he was going to be in St. Pete. So my daughter, the wrestling fan, was on a trip to her school went on a camping trip. And so they were coming back that day. But so I took my son, who is not a wrestling fan, who does not give two craps about it.
Sounds like my son.
And we go there to the I can't remember what this place is called, but it is a really, really cool old building when you walk into it in downtown St. Petersburg. So it's like on 4th Street, I think. There you see all these pictures of the 40s and the 50s of these bands that were there, and it's so cool. And nice wooden floor, and they have craft fairs there. So anyway, I walk up to the door. There's a guy there, and I say, "Hey, I'm just meeting Michael Bakikio from High Spots." He goes, "Oh, okay, go on in." And it's always cool when you're not supposed to be in a place and you get in a place. And so my son was just like thinking I was the coolest guy, right? And so I say my son, but he'd only been my son at 2 years at that point, but he was like 13, 14. So we go and we talk to Michael, and we look at all his stuff, and that he brought for this New Japan show. There's the big New Japan ring and all the seats that are lined up. And I had brought Michael these pictures of when he and I used to wrestle together, and his current wife had never seen him wrestle, and so he was really appreciative of the
awesome.
pictures that I printed off for him. And then who walks up? Colt Cabana.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so we start talking, and Michael's telling his people, "Hey, let's go out to." They wanted people to clear out the ring. I think they were going to work out some spots and stuff, so they wanted people to clear out. And I remember Michael. Michael from High Spots is an attorney. He doesn't practice, but he graduated law school at Wake Forest. So he's like, "Whoa, we're renting this space," and the guy's like, yeah, we just what you get. And he goes, okay. So he and all of his people that he brought to sell the stuff, and then Colt Cabana's there. And Colt looks at those pictures, and he's like, "Oh, Michael, I didn't know you could work." And one of the pictures that I have is, you remember the spot that Jericho used to do? I don't know if he still does or not, but like he would jump up on the second rope and then do a drop kick when the person's on the outside of the ring.
No, I don't remember.
I'll send you a picture of it. But so
outside the ring or inside the ring?
So Jericho would be inside the ring. The opponent would be outside the ropes. So he would, jump up, do like a spring on so imagine the corner. So he'd go to the right rope, and then he would jump up off of that and then springboard and drop kick the person on the left side. Well, Michael used to do that, and he was phenomenal. And Michael was probably legit, I'm going to say 6 foot, probably 200, and built real well. And so I have a picture of him actually mid-move, and I think my mother did that, and I was on the outside of the ring, and Michael did that. So a couple cool shots. They're not bad. And of course, Michael, because he had people that were making gear for him, always had outstanding ring gear. And so I showed that to Colt, and he was just blown away. And I said, "Hey, Alex, my son, why don't you get a picture with Colt?" And he goes, "Oh, okay, yeah." And so Colt immediately goes into a pose, which I mean, like, people who take pictures with people all the time, they just go into it, right?
Right.
You could see like it go from, Colt Cabana being Scott Colton to Colt Cabana. He just did that. It was tremendous. And he goes, make sure that turned out. I go, no, it's good. Because guess what? Colt knows I was probably too far back from it, and it was a little blurry. Right, okay. But I want to get the New Japan ring. Sure enough, I walk out there and look at the picture, and it is freaking blurry. But I was like, my son don't care. Colt won't remember, but Colt loved seeing Michael Bakikio wrestling, and then Michael showed that to his wife, and he appreciated it.
Oh, that's another great, awesome story.
Yeah. Michael Bakiko, he might be the founder of High Spots and all that, but he actually was a really good wrestler. And we came at a time where not everything was recorded, so
it's all lost, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And then we went out to eat, and so one of the people that we met with there was Savannah Evans. Have you seen her on Impact? Do you watch Impact?
Yeah, I do watch Impact. I'm just drawing a blank.
So she's dark hair, braids, and the cannibal. And I don't know if she's had a large role, but I know she's been on there. And so I used to.
She's a cannibal.
The cannibal
with the white face paint.
No.
Okay,
I don't think so. Yeah, but she's impressive, and she was really nice. And there's probably 6 or 7 of us, 8 that sat there at the table. Tommy Thomas was one of them, and we all sat and we talked. Well, when I learned that she had been a worker, I messaged her on Instagram and said, "Hey, you're a worker, and with Michael, and we'll buy some of your gimmick." So we bought a picture and a signed picture, and she put this really, really cool inscription on for my daughter. That was just really, really, really awesome. Was encouraging my daughter to, work hard and go to it. And, it's like, I love that, because I think that a lot of the messages that we got from women's wrestling and the WWE for years was just all about looks, right?
Right. It was a TNA show.
Yes, exactly.
Pardon the pun.
Okay. Yeah. You don't have to be a good athlete. You just got to be hot to look at. Right. Yeah. And it was so awesome. And there was another girl, Hayden Ramsey, that works for Michael. So anyway, I ended up, everybody that I see that works with Michael who is a worker, I try and buy their gimmicks and hopefully, throw them a little more money. And speaking of that, did you know that Ryan Wade is in a band?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. I had him on the podcast and he didn't even mention any of that. So
he was the one talking about, what was it, whale meat? Penguin?
Yes.
Okay. Well, okay.
So he's in Newfoundland, Canada. Just bought a house. Really cool, sweet guy. He was the first or second podcast that I did, and he's got a band. And I just found it out, and I just bought all his digital music that they've done. Just to support him and his band. And they've got a couple like music videos they put on YouTube. And it's like, you think about this, Jamie. If you had access to a video camera when you were in your 20s, think about the crap that you would have recorded of the conversations and the things, never in our minds did we think we could make our own music video, right?
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I was that guy that would bring the video camera to a lot of places, but I'd have to shut it off when we were having dinner and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, I have some good home video with Cornette and Dennis and things like that. And then from the conventions, I got some good funny video that if you look back, it's a bunch of people you would know, that Scott Dickinson, Ron Lemieux, McAdam.
Scott Dixon, the referee?
Yes, Wade Keller, Greg, the birthday boy, Greg Oliver, Harry White, and Lance Levine, and all these guys, Tom Burke, Randy Smith. Video from those conventions with us just fooling around being marks.
Wow, that is awesome.
Yeah, I also have a video of went to spring break in Daytona Beach in '89, and I got a video of Sam Kinison doing a MTV spring break commercial which was being filmed right where we happened to be sitting on the beach drinking. And after they filmed the commercial, he actually came over and sat with us for about 15 minutes drinking beer.
Who are you there with? Just like friends from high school?
Yeah, they're just friends that they weren't high school friends. I used to work at a shopping center along with the post office, and 6 of us decided to go to spring break that year. And we met Sam Kinnis. Actually, he ended up giving us tickets to his Outlaw of Comedy show that night in Daytona Beach. But I had the video of the filming of the commercial and a little bit of him sitting there drinking with us. He didn't really want the camera, so I had to put the camera back down. But I have some stupid video like that someday I'll make digital and maybe put on the internet for people to see.
Man, you've got to. I've got I bought a VHS to digital machine.
All right, yeah, I have one, but it's one of those things of time.
Oh, I agree 100%. So,
and there's stuff that I would have to edit out because it's not
appropriate for
the general audience.
Do you have Google Photos?
No.
So here's what I did. My Google Photos, I have so that when I pass, my wife has access to all my Google Photos.
Okay.
And you can put a folder that's like wrestling, and you can actually share that, or you can say my life, and you can share that folder that you make with anybody, your wife or your kids, and they would be able to see it, but it wouldn't be out there, but it would be there for everybody to look at and to see.
Right.
So my kids, I take my kids and I made it so every picture that I take of my kids, it automatically gets sent to their Google Photos. So they'll great. Have so they have, and so my mother growing up, she took pictures of everything all the time. She's got tons of pictures, and so now that she's getting later in life, she started giving all those pictures away to different family members. It's like, a cousin that it may be pictures of my cousin and her parents, and then that she's given a ton of pictures, all those pictures away, because she's not going to need them, right? And so it's sort of the same thing. It's like it goes out to those people that you tag in them, and I think that's awesome. And it's not necessarily public, but it's right. but it's still really, really cool.
Yeah, I have like tons of family stuff. My father was for the last 30 plus years of his life was a photographer, and he had his own store in a shopping mall. He used to shoot wedding pictures. Every weekend he'd do 2 or 3 weddings a weekend, and so he was always taking pictures just around the house. And I got albums and albums full of stuff, and I get like pictures of him and his mom and dad going back into like the 40s, and when he was in Guam in World War II and Korea War. I get all this stuff, and that sounds like the perfect thing to take pictures of and then put them into a folder so they stay around forever.
Yeah, absolutely. So your dad was in Korea?
Yes, and World War II. He was in the Navy.
Wow.
And he was stationed in Guam both times.
I was in Korea in 95 to 96 as a 1-year duty, and in Korea, man, that place was hell. Not for me, but during the Korean War, it was a horrible place. I was speaking to someone yesterday and about it, and they're like, yeah, my dad would not talk about it. I completely get it. When I was there 95, 96, there were still trenches built on places.
Really?
Right. Yeah. Like on ridge lines, and you could see that where it was, and you could to us, and you could see the trees were, I don't want to say new growth, but they were 40 years trees.
Right.
They weren't huge. It was really, really surreal and crazy to see, because that's not something we have experienced.
Oh no! Now, what my dad did in World War II or in the Korean War, like I said, he was stationed in Guam, and they would go. One of the main jobs he had, they would go island to island to find the Japanese that didn't know World War II was over.
That didn't know it was over?
That didn't know it was over.
Wow.
Because they were left on these islands and with no communication or anything. And they had Japanese interpreters go with them. And, sometimes there'd be a little skirmish before they could finally convince the people that it's over, and that they would show them proof. And then I have pictures of my dad with like his arms around the Japanese soldiers coming out of the cave and stuff like that. It's cool stuff.
Wow. So how did your dad end up near Philadelphia?
He was originally from a town called Crisfield, Maryland, on the eastern shore of Maryland, right on the Chesapeake. And somehow his family, his mom and dad moved to Wilmington, Delaware, in the 40s or late 30s. So he grew the rest of the time up in Wilmington, and then he met my mom in 1960 when he came up to the city of Chester, which is right outside of Philadelphia. They met, and then he wound up moving up from Wilmington, Delaware, to Delaware County, where I currently live today.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, before he got into photography, he worked for the Pennsylvania Railroad, which was based out of Wilmington. And I think it's probably one of the things that got hooked me into wrestling. I just happened to had it on one day, and there was Haystacks Calhoun, and he told me how he used to eat breakfast in the same diner as Haystacks Calhoun, and they were on hello basis, and they would talk once in a while. They weren't friends, go do anything, but they would see each other in the diner all the time, because Haystacks was living in Wilmington at that point. This is like 1957, 58, in that range.
Wow, that's really cool. I'll tell you my family wrestling story, and then we'll wrap it up. But so my mother, who was always a big Ric Flair fan until his later years, and I say later years because he's probably as old as my father was, but she saw him one time outside of our YMCA right before a match. So this is probably around the time I was born, early 70s, for Mid-Atlantic. And I remember going to a Mid-Atlantic show there where Jay Youngblood and Johnny Weaver was teamed up against, I don't remember. And I don't know if it's the same show or not, but I still remember the finish of the match. The finish of the match was that Johnny Weaver had one of the heels and a front face lock, and then Jay Youngblood jumped over the both of them and did a sunset flip on the heel and pinned them. But I remember another time, and I talked about this in my Chris Zaha and Travis Reigns talk, that Bulldog Brower was there, and I knew he was a bad guy, and he came up and spoke to me, and I started crying, and he felt bad. And I looking back at now, it's like it's got to be hard for the wrestlers back then, right, to have to be a bad guy when you see a little kid crying, right?
Yeah, that's a shame.
And I remember shaking Jay Youngblood's hand because I don't think the showers are connected right there, and he came out and I shook his hand, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm never washing my hand again. I had that thing. So
everybody always says that, don't they, when they meet a celebrity for the first time? I'm never washing that hand again.
Yeah, well, now we don't have to, because we'll take a picture with them.
Right? Yeah, right. Exactly.
So we've got something to memorialize that. We don't have to go, oh, I'm never whatever. Back to that note was that right before the pandemic hit, we'd had the WrestleMania was coming to Tampa, and we had the kids going there to the Access.
I always wanted to do one of those, never did. That it looks like it's a really neat experience.
Yeah, we didn't get to go either, and then now my kids are into wrestling again. But I think it's sort of the it might be neat if somebody's into it, but neither one of my kids are into wrestling at all anymore. And I would much rather go where I could sit and talk with people and hear a lot of good stories of you guys than to go and just get a picture with Becky Lynch or whomever. But
right,
the other thing that I think is cool about the legends being there is there's these guys that are in their twilights, and if they would talk and open up, and not hold back, there's a ton of good stories that they have about.
Were you there Friday night for the Fonzie stories?
No. But so I've started making this list. This list is called, if you're going to go to the Fan Fest, here's what you've got to do.
Be there on Thursday, number one.
See, you say Thursday, but we've got ourselves booked for Friday. So we came from Saturday morning, and now I'm like, we got to be there Friday because Fonzie was there.
Yeah. The reason I say Thursday, this last time there wasn't that many people there, and we all ended up at the fire pit. It was kind of cool in temperature, so we all ended up outside of the fire pit and just had a great time. Matter of fact, we were so noisy that one of the people on the first floor called the manager, and she had to come out and tell us, guys, can you just kind of be a little more quiet? But yeah, Thursday is just about as much fun as Friday and Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, but you don't get some Barry Rose or somebody else calling in this favor of this wrestler to come in and just hang out.
Well, we were there when Barry was doing that.
Yes, I know.
See, that exactly. That was the cool thing.
Yeah. So that's why we're coming Friday.
And Barry holds up the phone and says, "Hey, guys, you want Fonzie to come?" And, we all yell, and you can hear Fonzie, I'll be there. Oh,
man. See, that's why we're – so now – and I still sort of feel bad of dragging my wife into this because I know it's not her thing, but like she is so loving, and whatever I'm into, she'll happy go along with because she just wants to see me happy. And I mean, that's the picture perfect answer. So I'm like, okay, that's great. But so we're going to be there Friday and Saturday, and then we're going to deliver the recipients of our sponsorship from the airport on Friday as well. So,
oh, beautiful! Again, that's a first class thing that both of you are doing, and you're both to be congratulated.
Man, thank you so much.
It's an awesome thing.
And Jammie, thank you so much for talking to me. I mean, man, meeting you at Glory Days, I mean, seriously, was one of the highlights because.
And that almost didn't happen because I was getting ready to roll. You and I just connected.
I know, right? In the meantime, my wife is there talking to Barry Rose, Chris Spiker, Matt Spiker, and they're talking about, the Weiss Maserati and making all these jokes.
Yeah.
And you and I are there talking, and it's just like, so you're like one of those names. It's like, oh, you're mentioned on Cornette's podcast, and it talks about Corluzzo, and then you got Jeff Bowser talking about meeting you in '89 or whatever. So you're like one of those guys that, I mean, there's so much more that we could talk about, like of you going to all these things. But I'm so glad that we talked. I'm so glad to hear that like your wife and you have worked out all these years, and that, I mean, it's the picture perfect.
Yeah, I don't know if you just caught, but she just came by about a couple of minutes ago. The dog had to go out, and she tried to be real quiet and respectful and go outside. So
Jenna just did the same.
She wouldn't bother me.
We've got a new puppy. I say new. We've had her about 6 months, but she's feisty, 4 years old. She's a Shorkie, so a Shih Tzu Yorkie. But then we've got the dog that is 10 years old, 12 years old, and he is an old man on his last leg. And so he could barely walk. And so he's coming by, and he's like, and so, yeah, she's done the exact same thing. You and I are in parallel universes.
Yeah, I got this 5-month-old pup here, and she is, She's a handful. Our
What
last dog
breeds?
made it to 14, and then we went 2 years without having a dog. So it's an adjustment period again because it's been over 14 years, 15 years since we had a puppy.
Oh, so our cleaning ladies, they're coming tomorrow, and I got a little work to do. So I told them that the vet told me that we only have a year or two left of Maxie, and they had told me he's standing really weird. He's just acting really different. And I said, yeah. And I took him to the vet, and then I asked him, how long has he got to let to go? And you know how vets don't ever want to tell you; they don't ever want to say.
Yeah.
So I pushed them, and it's a year or two. And so the next time that they come every 2 weeks. And I told them, and they said, you should get another dog. It'll help him, and it will help you. And so we got this, found this 4-year-old. She was 3 at the time, but she turned 4 shortly. I got her in September. And they said you should get a new puppy. And so we got this one, and she is amazing. She is just the perfect dog for our family.
That's great.
That my daughter loves her, and she loves Jana, and she's always laying on Jana, and when Jana's at work, she'll go and sit on Jana's lap, or she'll come and sit on my lap. Absolutely perfect. And her and Max, she'll bark at Max and drive him crazy. But they were right. It's like if Max is on his last leg out, she'll help us with that whole thing. But Jammie, thank you so much, man. I love talking to you again, and I'll see you June the 4th at the Fan Fest in Lutz, Florida. I'm going to bring a recording device and a camera, and hopefully we can get some good conversations recorded, and that will be appropriate for the public.
Hopefully I'll be there. I should know next month whether I can get that week off or not. It's just the way the post office vacation schedules work. I mean, I have to take I could take as many weeks as I want, but in the first round, you can only get to take 3 weeks, one by itself, and then 2 weeks together. So, family vacations first, and then the wrestling vacation.
Next time we have to talk about the Three Stooges.
Oh, you could see it on that little photo. Just real quick, there's a place up where Barry used to live in Ambler, PA, that is a Three Stooges museum. It's called the Stoogeum, and I've been there a couple times, and it's kind of like what. Ow, my dog's biting me now. She's okay. It's kind of like what the Andy Griffith Museum that you were talking about.
Yeah.
With all this memorabilia, there's a pinball game that you can play, and they have a little 20-seat theater that you can sit there and watch
shorts,
several Three Stooges shorts, and it's really neat. But yeah, we can talk about that next time.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Frank. I really enjoy it, and hello to everybody out there.
All right. Have a great night.
All right. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, Ariel. That was Jammie Ward talking to us about post office, wrestling, meeting people and whatnot. And, at the CWF Legends Fan Fest last November that we went to, he was one of the people that I met for the first time there. And he was such a nice guy. I can't wait to see him again this coming year on June the 4th in Lutz, Florida. Go to the CWF Legends Fan Fest group, and you can find the link to the Eventbrite to buy your tickets. Make sure you get I believe it's the mega ticket, the most expensive one. That way you get to go to all the events and hear all the legends speak, and get your autograph and your meetings and pictures taken with them too. So make sure you do that. Mm-hmm. Now, are you ready for the big announcement?
Ooh, yes, the big announcement. Can't wait. Let's do it.
All right. So, Ariel and I have came up with this fun, exciting idea for the brothership. What we're going to do is host a promo tournament. Yes, brother shippers, you are going to get to cut promos on some of your favorite wrestling legends. And what we'll do is the first week, once we announce, okay, this is the first week, You can send me your audio. You can send me video. You can send me video, but it can just be pointing at the ceiling. It doesn't matter. And I'll put it on the podcast. And you're going to cut a promo, and everyone's going to cut a promo on the same person, the same place, the same time. So let's say, for example, your first opponent might be Dusty Rhodes on Saturday, June the 4th, 1977, the Miami Beach Convention Center in Miami Beach. And everyone will cut a promo on Dusty, plug in that show that night, and talking about what you're going to do to Dusty Rhodes. And then you're going to send those to me. We're going to play them on the podcast, Broken Kayfabe, and we're going to vote on who had the best promo. The winner of that will move on to the next round until we get to the final round between two brother shippers. And then we'll have a promo off there. And the winner of that is going to get a copy of the Brothership Song Greg Klein's book, King of New Orleans, the JYD book.
Ooh, awesome.
So
this is going to be interesting. This is going to be very interesting indeed.
So it's fun. You don't have to do video. You can do video. You can just record yourself on audio. You can record it if you don't know how to just do audio on your phone. You can just record a video and you point at the sky or point at the ceiling or point at the table. It doesn't matter if you don't want to be on camera. That's fine. And we'll just have some fun with it, and we'll go as long. So if we get 50 people, then we'll have a lot more of these episodes to play and do and stretch it out. If we've only got 8 that do it, then we'll do that over 5 or 6 weeks and then have us a winner.
Yeah, and I also want to point out that try not to go long on your promo, probably around a minute max. We only have, a certain amount of time to do the show.
Yes.
So, yeah, we cannot, have a lengthy 20-minute promo like they do in the beginning of Raw every week or something like that. But
yeah, we're keeping it old school. So
yeah, keep it old school.
Imagine you're doing it for the bicycle tape that they used to send around. You're standing there with Gordon Soley, Bob Caudle, whoever it is, and you've got 1 minute to tell us what you're going to do to Dusty Rhodes and talk people into the building, and we'll let the best person win the promo contest. Come up with creative, have fun, whoever you want. You can create your own gimmick. You can be yourself. You can come up with something absolutely new. If you don't like your current gimmick, you can always change it. I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun and, generate some good talk amongst the brothership. And I'm really excited to give you guys the winning prize of the book from Greg Klein, King of New Orleans.
Yeah, and if you can do impersonations of like other wrestlers, I know Macho Man is a very popular one, but this is your time to shine. This is,
yeah.
I want to hear it actually.
Yeah, you could do whatever you want. You don't have to be yourself. You can imitate another wrestler, but we'll it'll just be voted on by the brothership of who's the best. Just have fun with it. No one get a boo-boo face if you get beat in the first round, and just have fun.
Yeah, but also try not to don't just do Macho Man. I don't want like all the submissions be of Macho Man's voice, of impersonation. Well, that'd be pretty cool too. Well, no, you know what? Just do whatever you want. Be whoever you want. Yeah. You don't have to be Macho Man. You could be Hulk Hogan also.
And may the best promo win.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think it's time for you to go have your dinner at Fuck Him Long.
Yeah, get that ox penis pho.
All right. Man. Well, awesome. Thank you, Ariel, again this week. I hope everyone had a great time. I hope you enjoyed Jammie Ward. And coming up next week will be Greg Klein. The week after that is going to be Matt Crowder.
Awesome.
So thank you, everyone, for joining in. Thank you for listening. We look forward to the promos. Just look for the announcement of when that will actually start. And you'll have a week to get me your promos. You'll send them to my inbox on Facebook Messenger, and then I'll be able to get them from there and put them on the podcast.
Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.